They told me the job would be easy. Just look around. That's all they said. I was halfway through eating a cheap slice of gas station pizza when the offer came in. My phone buzzed 3 times, and when I glanced down, I figured it was just another rejection email. But it wasn't. The subject line simply read, "Employment Opportunity, Field Observer." There was no company name, no logo, just an address, a phone number I didn't recognize, and one line of text. Pay, $2,500 per day. Just look around. I thought it was a scam. I even laughed to myself. Nothing that paid that much could possibly be real or legal. But then again, I was desperate. At the time, I'd been out of work for close to 8 months. Rent was late every other week, and I had begun pretending not to notice the eviction notices sliding under my door. My cupboards had more dust than food, and when you're down to your last few cans of beans and a cracked ramen packet, $2,500 a day sounds a lot like salvation. So, despite every fiber of me screaming this is a bad idea, I called the number. A woman answered on the second ring. Calm, clipped voice. No background noise. It was like she was speaking from a vacuum. She told me to only refer to her as Marla, and informed me that I'd been selected from an applicant pool I never remembered joining. I was to report to a location the next morning at precisely 9:17 a.m. Auto dealership lot, west shoulder of Highway 19. You'll be picked up and briefed on arrival, she said flatly. Accept or decline. Silence is neither. I hesitated. Why 9:17 exactly? Because 9:15 is too early, and 9:20 is too late. I accepted. Biggest mistake of my life. At 9:17 a.m. the next morning, I was standing beside a long-dead SUV parked in front of an abandoned dealership. The only noise was the wind muttering through shattered showroom windows and the low hum of power lines overhead. I was just starting to wonder if I'd been fooled when I saw the van roll up. No license plate, no markings, just matte black and humming quietly. The door opened, and a man in a nondescript gray hoodie stepped out. He didn't say a word, just handed me a clipboard and pointed to the bottom of the form. By signing, you forfeit the right to seek legal recourse for psychological or physical side effects, it read. That gave me pause. I glanced up at the guy, hoping for some explanation, but he was already back inside, engine still running slow and steady. The clipboard felt heavy in my hands. My gut was screaming again. There's something people don't talk about enough. The exact moment fear turns to numbness. Not courage, not bravery, just cold acceptance. I was already too tired, too broke, and too far in to walk away. I signed without reading the rest. We drove in silence for over an hour, passing deeper into the parts of the industrial outskirts that even Google Maps prefers to ignore. Eventually, we pulled up to what looked like an abandoned school building, one of those low, modular things built in the late 60s. Peeling yellow paint, bent blinds, parking lot just cracked concrete and weeds. Marla was waiting for me at the entrance. She looked normal, perfectly average. Tan trench coat, black boots, tightly pinned hair. She carried herself like someone who controlled cages, not people. Cages, meant to be opened only once. You'll go in alone, she said. You'll wear this. She handed me a headset and a thick wristband with a blinking light. There was something damp on the inside. Sweat, or worse. You'll narrate everything you see, out loud. No filtering, no internalizing. Say what you observe, exactly as it appears, even if you're unsure. Especially if you're unsure. What am I looking for? I asked. She paused. That's the point. Just look around. We'll listen. And with that, she opened the door, gestured, and stepped back. The hallway stank of dust and bleach. Linoleum cracked beneath my cheap sneakers as I moved forward, headset microphone already clipped near my mouth. Lights flickered. Some kind of emergency power. Enough to guide me, but not enough to feel safe. First hallway. About 12 doors total. Lockers lining both sides. All closed. Smells kind of chemical. Old. I didn't hear a reply. Just that tiny click, like someone muted their mic. Room by room, I began to explore. Each one was the same. Desks in rows, blackboards coated in ghost chalk, windows thick with grime. Nothing moved. No wind, no noise. It felt more like a morgue than a school. Classroom 4. Desks are, messed up. All pushed into a corner, like someone tossed them there. There's a drawing on the floor. Chalk. It's a figure 8. No, maybe a symbol? I'll describe it best I can. The figure wasn't geometric, just uneven swirls, like vines coiling over themselves. It made my eyes itch. I kept going. It wasn't until I hit the science lab that I noticed something odd. The room was spotless. No dust, no decay, no broken anything. Test tubes neatly stacked, notebooks aligned, chair tucked in. And on the center desk, a single photo frame, facing down. I walked toward it slowly, body on autopilot, every hair raised. Science lab. Something's different here. Room is clean, like untouched. There's a picture frame on the table. I'm flipping it now. The moment I turned it over, my stomach turned inside out. It was a picture of my 3rd grade class, including me, front row, smiling. Except I'd never seen this photo before, and none of the other faces looked right. Their names I remembered, but their faces were stretched, mouths slightly open like they'd been caught mid-scream. Not grainy like a printing error. Deliberate, like they'd always been that way. I dropped the frame. It didn't break, just landed with a soft thud like it had fallen onto carpet instead of tile. But there hadn't been any carpet here. I glanced down. The floor was now carpeted. Science room floor just changed? There's carpet now. Greenish brown. Didn't see it happen. Photos. I don't know. Something's wrong with this place. I turned to walk back to the hallway. But the hinges on the door were different now. Shiny. New. The doorknob was brass instead of welded steel. I stood there, breathing hard. Then the walls whispered. I swear it wasn't in my head. Just one word. Impossible to unhear. Observer. I turned too quickly and nearly tripped over a chair that definitely hadn't been there before. There's something talking, I whispered into the mic. My voice cracked, dry as bone. It just said observer. I swear I heard it. No response, only static. I tapped the earpiece. Maybe I'd lost connection. Maybe they had muted me completely. Maybe they were never listening at all. I was shaking, hands clammy. The hallway outside no longer looked the same. The lockers were taller, too tall for any middle school, almost 9 feet. The doors had no handles now. They were smooth, perfectly smooth, seamless, like the surface of melted wax. Something's changed. The layout's shifting. Lockers aren't lockers anymore. Another silence. Then, a low hum. It wasn't mechanical. It vibrated my teeth, like sound I wasn't meant to hear. My vision fluttered. like my eyes were tired of seeing too much. I stumbled forward. I needed to get out. I passed the first exit door. It had vanished. Just a wall now, as if the building was folding in on itself, rewriting its own architecture. At the end of the corridor, there was a new hallway. One I knew hadn't been there before. No signs, just dim white glow and soft, almost carpet-like walls. I couldn't tell if I was walking into a wing of the school or something pretending to be one. Still, I walked in. I told myself I had nothing else to lose. The strange hallway led to a theater room, not an auditorium. No chairs, no stage, just empty floor and a massive projector screen humming with amber static. My mouth moved before I told it to. The room is unnatural. There's a screen. Something's playing, but I can't make it out. Then the static wavered, and my face appeared. But it wasn't me. Same features, same face. But my eyes were glowing faint blue, like backlit LED bulbs, and there were shapes moving behind me on screen. Tall, dark shadows writhing slowly, sickly, graceful, like snakes mimicking human form. I backed up, bumping into air, colder than ice. The door closed behind me. Soft click, like a refrigerator sealing shut. My hands trembled. What is this place? The static snapped back. Screen turned black. Then, bright white text. Observers should not be observed. I turned to the wall I'd come through. It was gone. Nothing anywhere now but blank walls. And then I noticed the floor. It was breathing. Just barely. A slow, rising pulse under thin gray carpet, like lying on the ribcage of something enormous and sleeping. My headset buzzed in my ear. "You're making good progress," said Marla's voice. Calm, cool, like I wasn't trapped in some kind of shifting living building. "What the hell is going on?" I snapped, louder than I meant. "You're observing reality, kernels. Fractures. Keep narrating. Do not stop. There's something alive here! Yes!" I screamed. A short, dry bark of fear. It echoed too well, too deep, like the room was amplifying panic. I threw the blinking wristband onto the floor and tried kicking at the wall. No sound came. Not even my screams had weight anymore. Everything was going wrong. When the light returned, I was in a classroom again. But this one had mirrors instead of whiteboards, and in every reflection, I didn't move, no matter how I twisted. My images just stared at me, eyes slightly parted, mouths whispering something I couldn't hear. I squeezed them shut, just for a second. When I opened them again, all the desks were facing me. There was a figure at the back, sitting straight, hands flat on the table, dressed like me, same clothes. Only, its eyes glowed blue. Marla's voice returned, broken by static. "If you see him, don't speak. Just walk out slowly." But I couldn't move. My feet stuck solid to the ground, like I'd been bolted down. My double at the back table tilted its head, just slightly, as if curious, as if disappointed. He raised one hand, palm upwards, 5 fingers at first, then 6, 7, 8. They just kept sprouting like bone fingers, breaching skin, until his palm looked like a growth of tree roots and claws, tangled and twitching. I screamed again. This time, I heard something else scream back. Not him. Not a thing. The building screamed. Fluorescent lights exploded above me in bursts like war zone flares. I fell forward into a blackboard that rippled like water when I hit it. Then, nothing. I woke up somewhere new. The floor here wasn't floor. It was grass. Grass in an underground hallway. Walls stretched 100 feet into the dark. The ceiling had no end, just mist, soft gray smoke where there should have been tiles or plaster. All around me, off in the dark, I saw shapes. Tall, still, unmoving. Dozens of old televisions stacked together, VHS static flickering across them. Each one showed something impossible. A woman giving birth to an eyeball. A man holding a reflection that wasn't his. A house breathing as if alive. I couldn't stop watching. Something about the screens made my blood feel too thick. My heartbeat lagged. Another screen blinked on. This time it showed me, asleep on the grass floor. But the timestamp was wrong. Date, tomorrow. Time, 9:17 a.m. Footage from the future. Get up! Not Marla's voice this time. A man, cold, syllables carved instead of spoken. Keep observing. And then I saw my body on screen. Twitch. The version of me in the future opened its eyes and looked straight at the camera and smiled. The real me, the now me, jumped back. That's not me. That's not me. That's not me. Somewhere behind the rows of TVS, something rustled. Something big. Big enough to make dust fall from the smoky knot ceiling. Big enough to make the static warp into screaming and then cut to silence. Every screen went black. Except one. It showed the original contract I'd signed. $2,500 per day. Just look around. Except now, the words had changed. The font was identical. The wording perfect. But below the signature line, new text scrawled in red beside an image of my face. Observed too much to leave. I ran. Didn't matter where. Didn't matter how far. My body just moved. Primal instinct overriding everything. My lungs burned. Toes scraped the soft earth floor that should have never existed in a building like this, and the walls, if they were still walls, seemed to scrape and twist around me like they were trying to herd me. Nothing in this place was stable. Time, space, perspective, all of it bent like heat on asphalt. And still, it watched. I knew it. The way the air trembled behind me. The way my shadow stretched wrong. Not longer. Thinner. Shrinking inward. Almost folding. Everything here was watching. Every crack in the wall. Every scrap of carpet or broken tile. It all felt like eyes. But strangest of all was that in the middle of it, I felt electric. Not just fear. Power. Like I was plugged into whatever machinery made this place tick. Like it was showing me pieces of something grand and horrifying. The stairwell found me. I didn't find it. A glowing exit sign floated above what I assumed was a staircase downward. But the closer I got, the more it looked like an escalator made of old wooden stairs. Creaking and groaning like ribs in winter. It breathed tired air. Moaned. I looked in every direction and realized I was in a loop, not a metaphorical one. I could see my own footprints looping back toward me. Fresh red clay from the grass room splattered along the floor in a winding spiral. Half of me didn't believe it. The other half was already walking down the stairs. The bottom floor felt wet, squishy, like walking on sea sponges or old bread. The smell hit me instantly, formaldehyde mixed with mildew and something vaguely sweet, like flowers left too long in stagnant water. I narrated it all, my mouth on autopilot like a black box before a crash. Room covered in fog, floor decay, Smells floral but wrong. Walls. Can't tell if they're moving or I've gone cross-eyed. Somewhere deep in my earpiece, I heard static twist, then reshape. "Keep going." Marla's voice again. This time, whispering. Different. Slower. Less human. Like her throat was learning how to speak. Or maybe unlearning it. There was a light far down the corridor, cramped and flickering like a candle behind stained glass. That's where the voices began. They weren't human, not fully, more like play-acted speech. Words borrowed from textbooks and podcasts, smashed together and regurgitated through imitation mouths. The figures appeared a moment later, 3 of them, barely moving. Dressed like substitute teachers from a decade ago, yellowed polos and cardigan sweaters, plastic smiles glued across their faces, and eyes. No reflection, no movement, just flat black. One of them turned to me, joints cracking like someone reassembling bones slowly. "Welcome, observer. Do you wish to apply your knowing?" His voice jittered like a skipping audiobook. I didn't answer. Another one stepped forward. This one's fingers unfolded like scrolls, actual pieces of skin paper unrolling from his knuckles, detailing words, symbols, blueprints. No, filing labels, date-stamped entries, locations. They were watching others, too, not just me. Behind them, a television on a stand flickered on. Again, I saw myself. Not the future version, another one. This me was younger, probably 13, sitting on my childhood bed, legs tucked awkwardly under me, eyes glued to a laptop. And on the screen, in this footage, was this. This exact hallway. This exact moment. A telescoping loop. I was watching myself discover myself, watching myself. And then, the boy version of me turned, on the footage, and looked through the laptop screen. At me. My real self. Grinning. It wasn't a screen anymore. It was a mirror. A trap. A door. I launched the television backward with a shaking foot, sending it crashing against the fleshy, wet wall. Static flooded the hallway. The figures twitched violently, struggling to keep their features intact. That's when I noticed their shadows weren't mimicking them anymore. Their real shadows were crawling sideways across the ceiling, flailing and tearing loose from gravity like balloons filled with tar. They slithered over the floor toward me. I ran. Again. I've long since given up trying to describe what came next by place alone. There are no coherent rooms in this story anymore. Only states. I moved, passed through what looked like a living room made from stitched canvas, a hospital hallway flooded in 4 inches of mercury, a bedroom full of clocks set to your heartbeat. And still, Marla's voice slipped in and out of signal. Don't fall asleep. They only shape themselves when observed. Do not answer if they use your name. How did she know they'd used it? I stumbled into another room, this one impossibly quiet. No ambient hum, no distant creaking, no heartbeat. Absolute silence. Floor white, walls plush, like someone padded a cell to keep it still. Center of the room, a chair. No straps, just a chair. Bent wood. Familiar. Too familiar. It was from my uncle's old barn. I'd helped him move it when I was 7. How the hell was it? Never mind. On the seat was a folder, just plain black. I picked it up with trembling hands. Inside, it was filled with photos. Every major moment in my life cataloged like a psych report. My old apartments, medical records, A list of websites I'd visited in the last 7 years. Employers, exes, memes I'd saved, scraped chat logs, pictures from deleted cloud backups. I flipped through in horror. One page showed a transcription of this very moment. I flipped through in horror. One page showed a transcription of this very moment. I flipped through in horror. One page showed a transcription of this very moment. I flipped through in horror. The text folded into itself in real time. And underneath it, red letters, just like before. You have been seen too deeply to go back. My hands burned. The pages had fused to my palms, literally. The folder was gone, but every page stuck to skin like tattoos burned in instantaneously. And then Marla spoke again. But this time, not from the headset. She was behind me. "I told you," she whispered, and her hand was cold as ice on the back of my neck. I spun around, and it wasn't her. The woman had her face, sure, but her neck was too long, her arms were too still, and her mouth hadn't closed once since she started speaking. Her teeth moved independently of her lips, like they were smiling on their own. All 36 of them. That's the last time I remember being inside. The next moment, I was outside, in the empty parking lot where it all began. Clothes soaked, shoes missing, skin awe, and my phone in my hand. New message, one line. Thank you for your service. Observation complete. It's been 6 weeks since I got back, I think. I say back, but I'm not entirely sure I ever left. The world looks almost the same. My apartment keys still work. My fridge still clicks at night. People still brush past me like I didn't almost vanish into something beneath existence. But it's off. Like seeing a familiar street sign with one letter swapped. Like hearing your name pronounced correctly, but in someone else's voice. I don't sleep much anymore. When I close my eyes, I see hallways that pull inward like throats, paintings that whisper. I feel blue light leaking behind my eyelids, tracing my veins, wriggling like static with intent. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection just right, in a bent spoon or a warped bus window, I don't blink when I blink. And sometimes, someone else does. I've tried to contact Marla. Nothing. The number disconnected. Emails bounce back. There's no database for hatchet observation or any of those fake firms they used. Whatever hired me, whatever used me, is gone. Maybe folded back into wherever it came from. But here's the part I haven't told anyone. I'm still observing. Not by choice. It happens when I least expect it. Walking down an aisle, standing in an elevator, brushing my teeth. And suddenly I see something that doesn't belong. Blue flowers growing through concrete. Shadows that curve the wrong direction. Mirrors that aren't mirrors. Let me tell you about last Monday. I was in a gas station, buying a scratched-up bottle of Pepsi and some headache meds. The guy behind the counter was texting, didn't even look up. But in one corner of the store, very quietly, one of those spinning stands with sunglasses started turning on its own. And there, between the rows of dollar store shades, a tiny slip of paper stuck out. I reached for it. Just curious. Just a glance. And the moment I touched it, my ears started bleeding. Not dripping, not gushing. Bleeding inside. Like my eardrums were trying to scream without sound. The paper just said, "We see you seeing again." That was it. I remember stumbling out into the sun, forehead wet, pupils dialed so wide the world looked like a gray smear. People moved around me like wind over graves, all familiar, all normal. No one saw anything. But I did. I saw hands behind window blinds. Not people, just hands. Waiting, twitching, knowing. I think whatever I saw that day, it marked me. And here's the part that really messes me up. Somewhere in whatever corner of reality that place exists in, it's still watching me back. Marla said to narrate, to describe everything, to say what I see. So I keep talking, even now, even here, even if no one listens. Because I'm afraid of what will happen if I stop. I'm afraid the silence will open again, that I'll blink and wake up in another room with one too many windows, or a carpet that breathes shallowly underfoot. If someone ever offers you a job like this, with a pay rate that sounds like it's too good to be true, think about what it costs. Not just your safety, not your sanity, not even your life. You're the Turth. You're fit within this universe. Because once you break it, once you tear that little seam between logic and what lives behind logic, there's no stitching it closed. You'll walk in two worlds, and both will reject you. So take it from me, never apply for a job where they say, just look around. Don't take the job. Don't sign the papers. Don't pick up the headset. Keep your head down. Keep walking. You can't unsee what sees you back. You can't unbecome the observer. I wasn't hired. I was harvested. And if this story still reaches you, you might already be next.